Assalamualaikum, I'm zoologist Ikra Bilal. Today we will study the topic of genetics. In this video we will discuss genetics definitions, its types and terminologies. Genetics definition. Genetics is the study of genes, heredity and variation. It is considered as a field of biology. The principle of heredity were explained by Kreuzer Mendel in 1866. Genetics is the study of how genes and how traits are passed down from one generation to the next. Our genes carry information that affect our health, our appearance, and even our personality. Genetics is the science of genes and how traits are passed on from one generation to the next. Kreuzer Mendel, a Moravian Augustinian friar working in the 19th century in Brno, was the first to study genetics scientifically. Mendel studied the trait inheritance pattern in the way traits are handed down from parent to offspring over time. He observed that organisms, which is pea plant, inherit trait by way of discrete unit of inheritance. This term, still used today, is a somewhat ambiguous definition of what is referred to as gene. Reverse genetics enable researchers to understand gene function by observing changes to phenotype of cell and organism that are created with modification to their genome. Reverse genetics also play a crucial role in the development of highly specific live attenuated versions of vaccines against specific viruses. In reverse genetics, first we select a gene, then generate a null mutant of the gene, which determines the phenotype of the gene or organisms. In forward genetics is a molecular genetic approach of determining the genetic basis responsible for a phenotype. Forward genetics provide an unbiased approach because it relies heavily on identifying the genes or genetic factors that cause a particular phenotype or trait of interest. In forward genetics, we screen a collection of mutants which identify gene causing the phenotype. DNA sequencing, also called position cloning, RNA interference, gene knockout, site-directed mutagenesis. Kreuzer Mendel used garden pea as an experimental plant for formulating the laws of heredity. Following were the proteins of garden pea. Seed in a variety of shapes and colors, self-cross-pollinate, takes up little space, short generation time, and produce many offspring. The second topic is types of genetics. There are 4 subdisciplines of genetics which are as follows, although some of the geneticists classify genetics in many subdisciplines. Transmission, which is classical genetics, population genetics, quantitative genetics, and molecular genetics. Historically, transmission genetics developed first, followed by population genetics, qualitative genetics, and finally molecular genetics. Transmission or classical genetics deal with movement of genes and genetic traits from parent to offspring. Mendel's law, it also deals with genetic recombination. Population genetics is a study of traits in a group of population. In this type of genetics, we study heredity in groups for traits determined by one or few genes. Quantitative genetics is the study of group heredity for traits determined by many groups and genes simultaneously, such as skin color, height, eye color, etc. Molecular genetics is a branch of genetics which deal with molecular structure and function of genes. In the picture, we can see molecular genetics, cytogenetics, Mendelian genetics, plant and animal genetics, microbial genetics, and population genetics. The third point is genetic terminologies. Common genetic terminologies. What is character? A heritable feature like skin color, height, etc. What is trait? Variant for a character, that is brown, black, white, etc. This is a difference between character and trait. What is true breed or offspring of same variety? Different generation of a cross can be P generation, which is parents or parental generation, F1 first filial generation, and F2 second filial generation. Pure cross, a cross between a true breeding plant or animal with another true breed plant or animal is called pure cross. The diagram shows genotype and phenotype of a flower plant. Genotype ratio is 1:2:1, which represent homozygous, heterozygous, and homozygous flower. The phenotype ratio is 3:1. 3 flowers are purple and 1 is white. When both the allele of a gene pair in an organism are same, it is called homozygous, while when both the allele of a gene pair in an organism are different, it is called heterozygous trait.
When F1 generation is crossed with F1 generation, the cross is called hybrid cross. Genotype is the genetic makeup of an organism, which is called genotype, while physical appearance of an organism is called phenotype. Dominant and recessive. When one characteristic expresses itself over the other, that is round over wrinkled, was dominant in Geiger Mendel's experiment in pea plant, while the trait that does not show through in the first generation is called recessive trait, that is wrinkled. These were our first three topics. The next topics will be uploaded soon. For more update, please like my video, subscribe my channel and press the bell icon.